Another day, another eclipse. How long will this be? Not a clue. But unlike you, or maybe like you, I would like eclipse season to be over, but it will. The 21st of September, the sun and the moon will conjunct in Virgo. And if someone's told you the sky is falling, it's not. However, what is happening is a beginning. Not really, but still kinda. For a second, I'm just going to say we know what this is. But what about everything else? What about Venus? Venus in Virgo is uncomfortable. It's quote unquote fallen. It just doesn't want to be so analytical. Virgo in the feminine does not want to be so analytical. When you consider, and this is outside of the this is outside of the spectrum of identity. Let me say that. The feminine does not want to have Virgo. Like I could generically say women should not want to have Virgo. Not because there's anything wrong with the sign, but it counteracts the idea of the feminine. Venus is receiving. It takes things in. It is darkness, right? The feminine takes in. If you think about, oh, no, I'm going to steer clear of that. It just takes in. So if it's receiving, it wants to receive in abundance without thinking. It wants to feel extremely, extremely pampered. However, Venus, based on history that I've understood and astrologically like research, Venus does not care about where it receives. So it's very much self-pleasuring, self-indulging, and it's like, for instance, like Venus and Leo could be a placement that is an extreme to all this. Venus in the fixed signs, because in Taurus, it just cares about the consistency of that pleasure. In Leo, it really wants it exemplified. In Scorpio, it can't live without it. And in Aquarius, it's rebellious to anything but its own. So I think I'd rather put Venus in Aquarius, if anything, than Virgo. Not because Venus in Virgo is a bad placement, but the feminine doesn't want that. Because what it does here is it's not subservient to itself, it's subservient to others. And so that's where I'd say giving the feminine Venus is detrimental to that feminine, because they will not be able to simply receive without questioning or receive without being worried. That's like so detrimental, I think, for Venus. Tangent aside, there are upsides. An amazing assistance, an amazing partner, an amazing eye. So when you have this, it's not the end all be all, but compared to what's going on in this new moon scenario, I think Venus is asking to be seen more than it usually is seeing others and helping them. When we continue looking at the eclipse series, a big part of it is a reset, right? Between Pisces and between Virgo, it is a reset, and they circulate into each other. Start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. But it's like absorbing to fix, giving away after it's whole or perfect or whatever. But to take what would be the exaltation of Venus and then to put it in its detriment is to truly cleanse Venus for itself. So now if we take that in context for you, where do you have Venus? that's important to consider, right? Where do you have Venus? How is this Venus being affected in that fifth house? How are all the mutables being affected? The next part of this is Saturn is back in Pisces. So now that Saturn's back in Pisces, and if we actually come out here, Saturn in Pisces opposing the sun and moon in Virgo is like a fresh slate again, but with the given context of, the South Node is there, but Venus is in Virgo. Venus is considering itself for once. I think it's like a blind spot more so. Throughout the process of the nodal return, I myself has learned a lot about myself because my North Node's in Virgo. And so in the house that I've had it, it's been shining a light. And in the same way, if you have Virgo placements, this transit has been showing you a clear part of your psyche that you probably weren't aware of, because let's be honest, it's Virgo. It's never going to admit that it's wrong. It's never going to accept that what it thinks it knows it doesn't know. It's not going to want to hear that realistically. And this is, like I said, coming from a Virgo moon, North Node. Like it's been a humbling process, but there are things that I am not aware of. And to draw as an example, I'm rewatching the TV show Foundation. And in Foundation, if you've watched a little bit of it, there's a lot that happens. It jumps forward and backwards in time. Rewatching the show to watch the last season, I'm seeing little small nuances, but also there was a lot of frustration that I experienced watching it the first time, but I loved how beautifully articulate the scenes are, the storyline, even as annoying as it can be. It just reminded me of Dune, and I love giant landscape, multi-world sci-fi movies like that. I love it. So to watch that and then watch it again, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't appreciate a lot, but also I was so wrapped up in how everything wasn't perfect in my storyline that I missed the beauty of how things were said in front of me, because it wasn't perfect. I couldn't have a sense of disposition. Mercury in Libra in this chart trining Uranus in Gemini, trining Pluto in Aquarius. While these two are retrograded, and I'm going to put them, quote unquote, on the fritz, they're like away from the direct fire pit of how much this entire chart can affect you. But the Libra is kind of giving a sense of balance, obviously, but to look at it from both ways. So while I was watching the show, I was like, wow, I forgot this part. I didn't see this. As annoying as the power dynamics of the characters and how chaotic all the different people are going through stuff, there's a beauty in it. The beauty in it being natural order, how life is unpredictable. And that is very against what Virgo wants, because Virgo is Mercury. It needs to know everything to make sense of everything. And when it doesn't, it capitulates into spiraling. Now, the South Node in Virgo, like I've been saying in the past videos, this eclipse season is teaching you something that you would have already kind of got a hint of last year when Saturn was transiting Pisces. There is something you got to let go, a need specifically that you have to reset, to heal from. And now as the nodes are in Pisces, this needs gets exacerbated during these eclipse seasons, because it's like you feel an impulse of something lurching up, and it's like, oh, I need to release some more. I need to release some more. And that's where when you go through the new moon, the full moon, and the cycle of that Pisces Virgo, it's like you can't clean this because it's so hard to from the start. You can't clean all of it. It's going to take some time. And this eclipse season with the South Node helps with that. Venus being here helps with that. It's just like healing. When the moon was having a full moon, and recently it was like Pisces, and then before it was the new moon in Virgo again, it started a period. It started a very short amount of time where you kind of got sat in with yourself. I didn't sit too much with that specific transit during the time of what it was, but if we actually go back into that lunar phase, and I'm just going to apply this to previous ones. Let's see. Was it June 10th? Maybe it was June 10th or June 6th. Let's look at that chart. No, that was Gemini. Apply. What was that? Oh, it's not going to show me. Nope, that was Gemini. I forgot the date that it was. Maybe it was June 10th. Nope, it was not. Okay. Too much semantics. I'm getting off topic. I don't remember the specific date of that one. This was no. Sorry. What I'm trying to get to is that the point of this one is to like release it, right? It's a release, and it's subtle, because before we actually finish doing this and we're enjoying the process and we're seeing how I use the analogy of the show for me to see the balance of it and to see the beauty in what you can't control, Mars is moving into Scorpio. So we're trying to release before the king of control gets into the domain of control, right? I think that the biggest takeaway aside from that release also is just loving yourself to a point where it doesn't make sense, but you enjoy it for what it is. You enjoy the unknown, because that is what Saturn and Pisces once again has been trying to teach Virgo. I experienced that a lot for myself, because this is just if you have Virgo and Pisces. But if you're someone that has Sagittarius and Gemini, the luck and the difference was just dry. So you couldn't really resort yourself to those old habits of how it is that you feel like you can get away with something. It just feels like a dry well. But the point of it is to sit with the Virgo, because Virgo is so strong, it's so smart, it's so tactile. And just in the same way in Foundation, a few of the main characters, they're so smart that there was no other way for them to actually go a part of the plan than for them to be left in the dark, because they're going to find a way. And sometimes when I do readings with people that have Virgo placements, or they have Aquarius, or they have hard Capricorn, they're too durable, and their transits suck even more, because the whole point 9 out of 10 times is either for them to let go of control, for them to let go of knowing, for them to let go of understanding, because it's the experience. And that's a quote in the show. Most of the time, the whole point of going through something is the experience. And it's never about the end of that. It's the process. And the quicker the process gets done, it doesn't mean that you actually learned what you needed to learn. You could be sitting in it, or it comes back consistently. It's felt like torture since Saturn went into Pisces, and the eclipse season feels like a little bit more torture. But that's because, for me, having Virgo, I just wouldn't submit. I learned very quickly, though, with the South Node to just submit, and it's been so much easier. What felt like such a uphill mountain crawling on my knees now feels like a walk in the park, because every time something comes up, it's like, where do I listen? Virgo is I know, and I've caught myself quite a bit saying I know for everything at the start of my year. But now I simply listen and always consider the other side, because I don't know. I don't know at all. And the better I am at saying I don't know, the easier I am to listen and take in what could be an answer or a perspective that I never thought of. And because Virgo knows, it needs to know every circumstance and every outcome. But it shines in some places. Like when I do astrology, it's building blocks of a lot of different stuff. I don't think I could do astrology without the way my Virgo is sitting in my chart. It gives me an edge. The other things I do in my life, Virgo also helps. But when it comes to faith, when it comes to the unseen, Virgo is not the go-to. It's going to fight itself because it just can't let it go. It can't sit still. It'll get anxious. Jupiter has been in Cancer for quite a bit of time. And unlike the last video where I didn't cover too much, we were in the middle of this whole process of the eclipse. I felt like the last two where we're in the middle. And with this one, we're approaching the end to me. Jupiter has been sitting here and healing what Virgo has been going through. So it hasn't been the end of the world, even though, Pisces and whatever. I feel like Jupiter has piggybacked the end of the Virgo transit. I'm going to say Virgo transit, but it's mutable transit really well because the sextile between Virgo and Cancer is healing. So if you, for instance, let go of the Virgo need, then Cancer will take care of you by showing you, hey, it's not that bad. Everything's okay. And if you're allowing yourself to be healed through the process of loving and forgetting, then the Pisces trine will allow things to be, done easily. If you have Scorpio, it doesn't mean that this won't come with some pain, because growth and sacrifice and shedding can be painful. But the Jupiter in Cancer has been doing what it can to make this whole process easier. The problem is whether or not you can let it be easier. So, with that being said, that was a lot. I don't share too much about my personal stuff too often, but I thought that that was a great analogy and even a reflection from my own life, as I have Virgo placements, and all of this Virgo sitting in my very full Virgo fifth house is like, it's been a really big learning lesson for me in my life. Thank you so much for watching, and till I see you in the next video.